Alright boys, how we all doing?
Good, man.
Aye, all good.
Good. Thank you. Well, you'll notice that there's hundreds of us. There's loads of us today kicking about. We're just having a big jambo blether talking because there's nothing else to talk about. Football isn't going to be back, for another 2 weeks. We'll discuss whether or not we think we're going to be in the building for when it kicks off. We've got everybody here that you can see on the screen. We've got Laurie, Joel Sked, we've got Amaris, so Let's It Run, and we've got Tam. So we've got absolute every jambo prick you can think of is on this, is on this call. So I thought, like I said, we'll kick it off. We can just go around the table. We'll talk about the season so far. What's been your highlight? What's been your favourite part of the season so far? And then once we've done that, we can talk about sort of expectations, transfer rumours, all that sort of stuff. So Joel, since you're the first on my screen, I'll kick off. What's been your Hearts highlight of the season so far?
Dundee United away, because I was able to go as a fan. It was the first away day since I can't remember last time I went as a fan before lockdown for an away trip. No, I was filming that day, so You're
also not allowed to talk about that game. We do not talk about the St Mirren away game.
Easter Road.
Talk about that one.
Yeah, so I was working there because I was witness to you almost getting your head kicked in, Laurie. So, but no. Tannadice away, it was great. The atmosphere was so good. Big away support. Got to train up with mate, and then just going out in Dundee afterwards. Bumped in a few Hearts fans I know, and it was on karaoke. It was good. So good performance, and it was reminiscent of the time we won 3-1 at Tannadice in 2005, start of the Romanoff era. Just not as good.
Actually scored.
Manjo actually scored. Yeah, looked like it was going to be a good season for him.
That did have loads of reminiscence of the Vlad game because we had a big crowd, played brilliant. That I know that they sort of came into it in the last sort of 10 minutes, and Craig Gordon made a couple of good saves. But that was one of the most accomplished away performances for a long time. We absolutely battered them.
It made you think that things might actually be different this season, just because our away form, genuinely in the top flight, has been so shit for so long. I mean, it's been decent this season. We've won at St Mirren as well, which is no mean feat.
Yeah, well, considering it's every week or every away game, it's like Hearts haven't won at this venue for 10 years. It's like, for fuck's sake. Is there any venue that we've won it recently other than Easter Road?
Easter Road.
Yeah, Easter Road, exactly. Laurie, since you're next on the screen, what's been your favourite Hearts moment of the season so far?
I mean, we were actually talking about this just last night when we were doing Scarves Around the Funnel, and obviously the foundation thing is the big one, which everyone would probably pick. But on the pitch, I actually mentioned the Aberdeen game, the first game that we actually had almost a full house. I know it was like 17,000, but it was the first time we'd properly had fans back at Tynecastle since pre-pandemic, because it was 4,500 at Celtic, so it was still pretty sparse. So nice sunny day in August, kind of fans back in. There was the tribute to Zal, that game as well. So I thought it was quite an emotional day, that one, just having fans back in. And it did kind of feel, it's ironic where we are now, it kind of felt like finally we're getting back to what football should be like, and now we're right back to where we were before.
And luckily we had all those distractions to take the thing away from the worst home performance of the season so far, because we were dreadful against Aberdeen.
We weren't great. I mean, we disagree. You usually go harsher than I do on certain things, but we weren't great. Okay, I'll agree on that.
They're the things probably, I know like Joe Savage said on the thing on Boxing Day, that the game that sticks out for him is like the one that annoys him the most is Motherwell away. But having seen Aberdeen on the telly play against other teams, it really bugs me that we haven't took full points off Aberdeen this season, because they look absolutely shambolic.
Yeah, but
I completely forgot about that Motherwell game. I'll go in that game. I've watched them quite a few times this season, and I know they've picked up good results, but they're not that good.
They were very good that day, to be fair. I thought they were really
they were, but all they did was run a lot more and pressure us a lot more. They didn't do anything like really special, and just as soon as Power and the second goal, when the boy headed it and the ball hadn't even hit the back of the net, and me and my mate were already out our seat in synchro, leaving, just because it was one of those where you could have left after one of those games. You could have left after 5 minutes and not missed anything, just because it was going that way, and it did seem like it was going to be all very different.
The other thing that annoys me about that game is that Craig Gordon genuinely makes probably the best save of the season so far. The triple, is it the triple or the double save thing? It probably rivals the one at Livingston, but like you said, we were 2-0 down and no one cared. We were like, see you later, I am out of here. Amaruso, let's run. Do you want to have a shot, or anybody else want to take a shot? What's your favourite highlight of the season?
Just so that I'm not regurgitating what I've already said to the guys on Scarce Around the Funnel on Twitter, I think I'll probably say recruitment. So no longer is it a scattergun approach. It's actually a bit structured. I'm going to get that out now before the Sam Cosgrove rumours become reality, because that might make me change my mind about recruitment. But definitely recruitment's been a big plus this year.
You not think Cosgrove would be a good signing?
No, definitely not. It's got bad vibes, Connor Salmon about it, and we all ken how that ended up. So
where does Sam Cosgrove fit into how we play? I know that you have to mix it up sometimes, but
I think he's probably one of two forwards. If we're looking at him, he's one of two options we're looking at. So we're looking at an option that we can still bring off the bench if we need to change the system and chase a game, a foil for Boyce, and they probably want someone else who maybe, like you say, Laurie, can fit in better into that 3-4-3 system.
So the Japanese boy, if he's still on the radar, 100% fits into the system. I reckon he'd be really good for Boyce. I think him, albeit this watched a few of his games, and I take watching the J League by a pinch of salt, because everyone looks fucking class in the J League. I don't know what it is, but Japanese football looks really really good. But he looks like he's the type of player who would fit really well balance wise with Mackay and Boyce. But I do think we do need another kind of central striker, number 9 option.
I think Motherwell game is a good example, isn't it?
That's exactly what I was going to jump to. I was going to say the Motherwell game is the perfect example of that. It was clear that the game plan wasn't working. We couldn't get out. We couldn't match the legs of Motherwell. And if we had, I hate saying it, the old target man up there, that you could have at least, give us a bit of release for the pressure.
Well, our best chance ended up being our best chance ended up being a launch up the field from Gordon, and Nongdue flicked it on, and Boyce was in 1-on-1. And that was like, it was just a launch up the park. And as much as Nongdue is questionable in terms of his contribution, he actually won the header, and that was it. It was a chance on goal. So I get that. You need a plan B sometimes.
We essentially just need another Kevin Kyle.
Can we not just get another Kevin McKenna, so we could play him at the back when we're not needing a target man, and then just put him up front when we do?
And Kevin Kyle wants to batter me, so there you go. Get Kevin Kyle back just for the banter.
As long as you can say this call, man, so it's fine.
That's true.
You still say that you. Him, Corbett versus Kyle is going to be one of the best celebrity boxing matches that we could actually get, given that the two, well, one's a media darling and one's just on a podcast. Yeah. Work that one out yourselves.
Have you seen the clip of what he did to his son?
Yeah, on that hoverboard thing.
The hoverboard almost chucks him off the oven.
that would be Corbett in that situation. You get ragdolled a bit.
I'm sure it's still his pinned tweet.
That is. Anybody else want to take a shot at you? What's your highlight of the season?
Mine's is a bit personal. A couple of weeks back, the Dundee United home game. So me and my eldest had a weekend in Edinburgh. We went to the game, and then the next day was my plot ceremony for the foundation. So it was a great weekend.
Nice. Where are you based, Brian?
Aberdeenshire.
Aberdeen.
So I didn't get doing all that often, unfortunately, but picked a good weekend.
Aye. That had everything in that game, to be fair. That could have literally finished like 5 each at one point. I was thinking, what is happening here? Every attack was a goal. It was brilliant.
It was the only game this season of 5, which was great.
That is true. You did patch it. Anybody else? Grant, you're on my screen. What's been your highlight so far?
I've actually managed to brainwash my son this season. So he's 5-year-old and now he's got all the kits on and he actually loves the games. He's only been to one. Yeah, it was Livy at the 1-0 at the Spaghetti ad. So it was still he got to see a win. That's all that he remembers. And every time he sees a bald guy now, he thinks it's Liam Boyce, so he's happy as Larry. You know what I mean?
He got the whole range of Hearts emotions as well, because for 45 minutes we were rubbish, and then for 45 minutes we were great.
100%. I mean, he was smiling at the end, but he never wants to go back when it was cold. And I said, no, that's just Livingston. It's just that stadium. It's a shithole.
Right. Mark Donaldson keeps WhatsApping me saying he can't get he can't get his camera to work. I can't see him, but I don't know if that's just me.
He was working earlier on.
Hello. Hello.
We can hear you. I can hear you.
I feel like someone's dad, and I've come home and like 20 kids.
Hey, there you are. See, we can see you now.
Hello. Can I give a highlight of the season so far, please?
Aye. You go to the highlight. Let's have your highlight.
It was the 17 minutes of the commentary in Ross County in the first half when Dunstan went quiet. Hi, Laurie.
Hung out to dry there, Laurie.
Laurie's thinking of stuff over his head. He's like, right, do I reply or not?
The highlight was the Henry Smith song, and someone somewhere, it's on Spotify, but somebody must still have the CD.
The whole world knows about Henry Smith.
Who was in the Jambo Tribe?
What a CD that is. I've got it kicking about somewhere, like.
I've got the tape, not the CD, but
who made up the Jambo Tribe? Who was it?
God knows. It's on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon Music because it is on my favourite lists.
I still get. I think I've got 14 pence royalties still to pick up from the 2 tracks at the end from Cherry Red Records. My mum I've been away from Pennycook for 11 years now, and my mum still gets a thing from Cherry Red Records, who produced that, saying I'm due 14 pence carried over from last year because nobody's bought the CD. I wonder who was in the Jambo Tribe and who did Henry Smith.
There's a very failed attempt at Hail Hail on that as well. Hail, hail, heart of Midlothian, scoring goals against Hibernian.
Is there not a hello, hello dance track? They don't say hello, hello. There's I'm
sure we played that. We played that at Tynecastle after we won the cup. I'm almost certain we did.
There was a one that was like hurrah, hurrah.
Oh yeah, there was
which is great. We were on the way to the final, and the last time fans were at the final, we were able to go. Was it 2-1 at Celtic won. We had on the bus and singing that. It was great.
What's the modern day equivalent of Marshall's The Chunky Chicken Champions?
I know, we do need a good CD. We've not had a CD for ages. Actually, so who wrote remember the Cholies song? Remember that thing was kicking about for ages.
God.
Was that
like Dolly Parton or something?
Aye, the Dolly Parton of Cholies. Aye.
There we go. That's the what's his name? I was going to say Tom Jones, but it's not Tom Jones. What's it? Tom Wilson? Aye.
Class, signing on Tom Jones for a song.
You can shut up, Tam. That's disgusting chat. No, we don't want him anywhere near the club. But aye,
I was in the
Tom Wilson CD. I've got it. It's kicking about here somewhere.
I've got a Tom Wilson story if you want it, by the way.
Go for it.
Go.
Tom Wilson, when he worked at Forth before he tragically died, bought a car off Ninian Cass, who's good pals with Jim Jeffries, and it was Dave McPherson's old car that Cass sold him. And Tom always used to keep a lock of Dave McPherson's hair above the kind of bit where the sun visor comes down. And you're always told if you took his car or went to get something from his car, don't fucking touch the sun visor because there's Dave McPherson's lock of hair above there. That was his treasured possession among many other things.
When we were going around getting tickets out, Gary Locke had something similar. he had a bit of wanjos here when they let it go.
From his head.
Let's keep it above the waist. Anybody else want to everybody else want to have a shot at letting us know what your highlight is for the season?
Klimek?
Oh, is he away? I think he is.
Is he away?
Arcadius Klimek has left the building. That's a shame.
No.
But as long as his Hearts career, wasn't it?
My favourite bit of I don't know if this made the final edit for last week's one or whatever, but my favourite bit of the season so far, just to make it totally shit for you, Tam, is when your belly wiped out that table of drinks in the pub for Motherwell away. I don't think I've laughed that hard in my life. Right, it was absolutely hilarious, and I'm not going after you. It just genuinely was one of my highlights of the season. It was like we're in the pub, all the boys were there. Well, to be fair, the other few, but everything attached to that day was brilliant for me. It was the first away day it had been in ages. Like the result was total shit, but everything else attached to that day was absolutely brilliant. And the highlight for me was Tam wiped out this table of bevies with his belly and then turned around and looked at everyone as if to go, what? Oh, was that me? Shit, oops. Absolute comedy gold. But
you had been drinking some absolute flipping potent shite though, Tam.
Yes.
Not as bad as Brad's though. Brad was on worse than you.
He was on the MD. You were on the
and Bucky.
That's right.
I was allowed out for a day. I had to go fucking Tonto. That was it.
Well, on you go. Sorry.
I was going to say our away day defeats a little less hard to take now that you can get pished and not worry about the football too much, or at least you could for
just that
much
one.
of the season.
Yeah, just that one. Everything else is going to be a bitter pill to swallow. Because it was the first time, as like to Brad's point, it was like we were all let out the house and I was allowed north of the border for an away day. Then it was a good time, but nah, that's a once in a season event. Everything else now must be a win, otherwise it will just ruin the day.
So obviously we're in January. Might as well talk about transfers since it's the January transfer window. Any rumours catching your eye? Anything that's depressing you, exciting you? There's no Hearts rumours to talk about other than our players leaving. So we might as well.
Rangers.
We might as well.
Something about the Rangers for 500 grand plus like massive potential add-ons or something.
Aye, but I don't know.
I honestly can't see us Nielsen agreeing to let him go.
No,
he's been adamant. He's been adamant all season that he is here till the end of the season. It would have to be stupid money for us to let him go, and if it was Rangers, it would have to be even stupider money.
But then would the question not be around
and hopefully
sell on though? Because if you can sell him, and you can get a sell on clause. You might not get that though.
They have got 10 million kicking a bit.
I think you need to wait up that if we finish, say we finish third, and one of the top three wins the Scottish Cup, we are guaranteed group stage football next season in Europe, which is, think of the millions that will bring.
Is it the Johnston Paint Trophy Europa League, King, or is it actually the proper Europa League?
Potential. So we would go into the Europa League playoff round, and then obviously if you win that, then you're into the group stages. If you lose that, then you're in the old Conference League.
See, I've been quite cynical about the conference, but when you look at it from a commercial point of view, the prize money is actually not that different. So from our point of view, if we can get to group stage of that, that's almost game changer.
Some of the teams are quite big in there as well. It's not your Burke or Cara or Infinite. It's actual football teams.
Once Spurs in the Conference League this year.
They were.
Spurs struggled in it, didn't they?
I think they got eliminated. They got a 3-0. They got a 3-0 against them for COVID or something, didn't they?
Aye.
Joel,
that put them out.
Joel, question for you, which is to do with not to do with a transfer in, but potentially a positive thing. We're talking about Aaron Hickey and his potential move to England. I know 15 million's been talked about as possibly what Bologna might expect to get, possibly more. Someone said to me that it's potentially 20% sell on that we have.
I thought it's. I've been meaning to check this out. I'm positive it could be 15%.
I thought it'd be about 10, but that was a guess, and someone told me that it's actually.
I think it is more than 10. I think.
So who in England is interested in Hickey then? Because
Villa.
Villa. Okay.
So 15% would be like more than the one you actually signed.
Go on, Tam, do it.
Oh fuck!
I was gonna say you're on the fucking hook for this now, Sunshine. Come on.
2.75 million.
2.25.
Yes. Oh fuck! Close.
We'll take your time. We'll take your percentage, Tam. That works out better for the club.
Hopefully, Bologna's maths are just as bad as yours.
Was there not a rumour about Hickey swapping a player, like an Italian team wanted to swap him?
I think that's Lazio.
Which essentially means that we get no transfer fee, which would be pretty much the most Hearts thing ever.
Yeah. £20 million talent player with a sell-on fee, and he leaves for nothing, and a swap deal.
Sounds like something that would happen, to be fair.
But fair play to Hickey, to be honest with you, and it's something that I know we live in the goldfish bowl, but I hope it's something that youngsters look at. You know, if you look at some of the success of younger players leaving the country, I know you don't hear about them, and we only really keep tabs on Hickey because of the Hearts connection. Let's be honest, if he played for any other club in Scotland and went to Italy, we wouldn't probably bat an eyelid at it. But it is refreshing to see players sort of try themselves rather than just I want to go to League One in England and try and build up to the Championship. It's good to see them actually go learn and get a bit of culture and see a bit of the world as well, isn't it?
It absolutely is. But I'm always wary of the out of sight, out of mind in terms of like the Scotland. I know half of you guys dickhead about the Scotland team, but you know, players might. And I always wonder if you're not in Scotland or England, do you get forgotten about? I mean, the guy that went to Portugal, Ryan Gold, yeah.
You've forgotten about him anyway.
I forgot about him. But you're right.
Even that goes to Joe's point today about Suter signing for Rangers. Like, it's got to be more insight playing for Rangers for the Scotland Cup than going to some jobber championship team.
So that's came back to bite me just because I was half cut. I was half cut when I tweeted it last night, and I was being so.
Someone didn't look at where they were.
I was very flippant. I was very flippant about the English Championship because I think it's a terrible league. I really don't like it at all. And I just assumed, I thought Blackburn Rovers, they must be jobbing about. But no, it turns out they've been on a great run of form and are second in the league. Who knew? Well, except for a lot of people.
Rumour has it as well that the Blackburn owners are sticking a load of money in to get promotion.
10 million.
Aye, and
it's still a Venky's, isn't it?
Is it Venky's? That's what I was just about to ask.
I think it still is.
They had chickens on Ewood Park at one point.
Aye, they're back at K-Star.
Literal chickens, like actual chickens.
Yeah, like as some sort of like advertisement before like games and stuff.
Venky's the Chunky Chicken champions.
But there's
a
live chickens.
Live chickens. Yeah. But there was like no sacrifice or anything.
See when I hear things like that, Kev, first though, that really annoys me that because we call Mad Vlad, really annoys me that he wasn't that mad. I would have loved stuff like that.
But yeah,
on the park.
He dressed up the monkey.
He did. That's true.
Just turn up with his fucking submarine just on the pitch at half time.
Fights from a dead at half time.
Aye, I miss the good old days where we used to have craziness. Now we're well-oiled machine. It's boring.
Can any you confirm this? There was a story when mine back in 2010, I think we were on like a 10-game unbeaten run or something like that, and the players were promised like a bonus or something for doing something, and then we got beat. I think after 10 games, and Romanoff came into the dressing room at half time, and there was a translator because he obviously couldn't speak English, and was pretty much saying something. The translator pretty much said that Romanoff had said well done, great run, I'm really proud of you. And Zaliukas was there. And apparently he's like, that's not what he said. He said you're all a disgrace, you're fucking pathetic, you're all getting sold.
That was the Parkhead game. I think Stephen Elliott's actually confirmed this on that. Is it Under the Kosh podcast? He was on that last year, and that was the story he came out and confirmed that's that.
We got pumped 4-0, didn't we? After quite quite a good
It
run.
was under Jeffries, and we were like second and in a title race because we'd beaten Celtic at Tynecastle, hadn't we?
Was it no Rangers?
Rangers 1-0.
When Stevenson scored.
Kyle got injured
Andy
though just
Vaxer
before the
scored late
Celtic
on.
game, so we're knackered anyway.
The good old days, I can't get budged in the changing room, man. Come on, get it happening.
Do you remember Robbie Nielsen said after they beat Basel and they had the tunes blasting in the changing room, and one of Vlad's entourage came in and just like turned it off and said, "Aye, calm down. This is embarrassing. This is the kind of result we expect." Like, I'm paraphrasing
like
along the lines.
Have you not been like the second team to ever beat them at home in Europe? And the only other team would be Juventus.
The first British team.
First British team, yeah. Man United got beat with them. Man United got beat with them like a year later, a year before, 1 or 2, and we're the first British team to do it.
Aye, Man U, Newcastle, Celtic, Liverpool, I think all failed.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But,
Robbie Nielsen must have been like, fucking no buzzing about it. I've only one of only 2 goals I'd ever scored for Hearts.
And you've told me to calm down.
Winning goal away to Basel in the it was still a UEFA Cup then, wasn't it? Aye, it was.
It was the first season of the Europa League.
Was it not still called the UEFA Cup?
No, it was still UEFA Cup. It was a group.
It was still called the UEFA Cup. It was
that 5 team
group stages.
5 teams.
Yeah.
Was it no 5 teams in a round robin? Like you played one team that
Aye.
just won.
Aye, you didn't play them both home and away.
No.
It was just like depending on how you qualified, with your coefficient decided your sort of like matrix of how the games were played.
Aye.
And I think we played all ours at Murrayfield, didn't we?
That's right.
Well,
that was when Robbo kicked Laszlo, was it no?
Yeah. It was. Aye.
There's a question for you to bring up. Sorry, actual, just obviously let's not count our Venky's chickens, but we've got. It looks like we're on a decent chance of potentially getting European football this year. Do you think that'd be? Are we going to see European football at Tynecastle, or if we get a glamour tie, or the club move it to Murrayfield for the revenue?
Tynecastle.
We didn't invest all that money in that stand and stuff to play a game somewhere else.
Would we not have to tape off the front 2 rows because the seats are too close to the pitch? So no some kind of shite European rule.
I thought they changed that. I thought we managed
changed that. I can't remember it getting taped off against Infonet, if you want to remember.
I think it's only at certain stages of the competition, is it not? So, like the qualifying rounds, let's be honest, it's like if you're playing a Faroese team, they only have one stand, and it'll be total dog shit. It's only when you get into like decent levels of the competition that there's rules around it.
Yeah, I'm sure these rules are mental. When we played Soroki Breig, I think it was 2006 before we played AAK, they only had one toilet at their ground, and it was in the home end. Like honestly, you think about the facilities problems that we've been told about with regards to playing European football at Tiny. Some of these places you go to, these backwards.
I'm sure it'll be funny, Scott, but that sounds like Dens Park in about 1984.
I'm sure
1984. That was a few weeks ago.
I'm sure Firhill was just a trough on the ground in the middle of the concourse in fucking Glasgow. That was
still is.
Like the old Brockville. The old Brockville was fucking horrendous.
Aye. Just got to the back of the stand, turned around and had a piss, and that was it.
So I would take that over Murrayfield and its beautiful facilities, because football at Murrayfield is absolutely dreadful.
It's crap, isn't it? I've never seen a good game there.
But think about if there were still COVID pandemic problems going on, we'd be allowed to play at the Egg Chasers, wouldn't we? Because they've got the big open concourse, and that's always the excuse they give us for playing there anyway.
What's the general consensus about fans? Do we reckon we'll have? I think we'll be back inside Tynecastle for any games in the coming months.
I think so.
Not on the 18th, I wouldn't imagine.
No, I agree. I think we will.
I think it will be.
I think it will be on the 17th. I think Celtic Hibs will be fine on the 17th.
Full capacity?
Yeah.
Whenever neither of the two of them get full stands.
But then what was the point? Because the numbers are worse. So if you're basing it on the numbers, then
I think she expected some sort of like financial help from obviously England. I think she thought that England would follow suit pretty quickly. So I think she's now under kind of pressure because the clubs will be losing kind of revenue.
But they made changes, quite significant changes to like the isolation period as well. So it's they obviously realise it's not as much of as an issue as it kind of was before. So
yeah, and they've made changes to the testing down here as well. In the sense that if you want to come out of isolation, then you only need to have I can't remember exactly what the details are, but the testing rules have been changed.
Day6 negative, Day7 negative, then you're out, I think.
Yeah.
Aye, that's it. You're gone.
The chances.
There's no money coming from. No, it's fine. There's no money going back up to Scotland from Westminster. That much is clear. So, obviously, without going too much into politics, the decision is going to be made based purely on money, isn't it? Because otherwise, you're going to have a revolution on your hands.
So it's one of those. So basically, from what I understand, is that England, if they do it, then they borrow against a future budget, and it makes it easier to get money. Whereas in Scotland, if England don't do it, and Scotland as itself, the Scottish government, they have to take money away from other parts of the budget, so legislation, blah blah blah. So it makes it much more difficult.
Because Boris can obviously borrow from the Treasury, whereas we don't have, the Scottish doesn't have a facility, so obviously gets allocated money from the UK government as part of the union. So, like you said, if she's got to borrow that money against somewhere else, and she can't magic money kind of out of nowhere. So if it's not available, she's no choice. So Tories have kind of forced their hand a bit.
Harrison M, you just had your hand up. Are you the budget minister for the SNP or Westminster? And what jump in here?
I know. I was just gonna say like that rumours about the wanting to move the games to England, both for football and rugby, are absolute bull. Don't know what that's about.
That would be so Scottish though.
If when the rugby comes back in, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think the first game is England on
England, 5th of February. The first weekend of February is back to Six Nations, and there's no way she's going to stop it. So she can't expect that she stops just football fans going, or there will be natural riot on her hands.
In terms of moving games to England, there was actually merit in that story, but I think it was came from the SPFL or people in that region, but it was
calling their bluff.
Basically designed to put pressure on, and I was very, very sceptical that fans would be back from the 17th, but I am a lot more confident and hopeful that's going to be the case.
I'd be surprised if that didn't happen.
Oh, I was laughing that someone tweeted Livingston versus St Mirren live from Old Trafford. Yeah,
the whole Martin Tyler.
More stewards than fans, man.
I guess all farcical, but I would love a wee away day down to Newcastle. Just
think that would be like, that would sum up Scottish football in a nutshell. You can't go to Easter Road, but 20,000 Hearts and Hibs fans go to St James's Park or the Stadium of Light or something. Make it a fucking stag do for the weekend.
If that's going to happen, my back garden, I mean, it's a substantial size, but it's not big enough to handle you all. So, well, first come, first served if that's a thing.
All the Rangers fans are wanting to play their games in Blackpool.
Home game.
I went to Blackpool in July, and no joke, every second person I seen was wearing a Rangers top.
It's funny.
It is mental there, like it's mental. David, you've got your hand up as well. Let's hear.
I just want to say that I lived in England, and I've spent enough money going up to see the Hearts, so I think we should move the Derby on the 1st of February down to Pride Park at Derby. Just for me.
Derby and Derby, that would be class.
Were anybody at the Derby Hearts game in '95? It was the day after Jeffries had kind of that protracted move from Falkirk, and it was at the baseball ground. We were 3-0 down, and I think Chris Powell scored an own goal from nearly the halfway line. I don't know if anybody was there, but we got a chasing afterwards for the fans. Anybody at that game?
No,
that wasn't the way.
Jeez, the Middlesbrough game was another one away. We got bussed from Berwick, basically. We got a police escort from Berwick because they didn't trust us to go to Ayresome Park. There was some proper rascal trips back in the kind of early 90s.
Middlesbrough doesn't surprise me. I know a few cats down in Middlesbrough, and they're rough. There's no other way of saying it. They're rougher than.
Cheers, Ando. My missus is from Middlesbrough.
I'm sure she's lovely, but I'll guarantee you she could kick your ass.
Wholeheartedly agree with you. She's got a big thumb and I'm underneath it. You know what I mean?
Point made.
Graham, you've got your hand up. What are you going to say?
Just to talk about getting chased at away grounds. I mean, going to Millwall Hearts in 2010. Oh God, who was the guy? It was his testimonial, Neil Harris.
Neil Harris,
aye. That. I don't know if any of you guys were there, but I found myself in a wee sticky situation. I had to hide in a pub.
Just half an hour to get in.
It was really good. It was excellent.
That game finished 2 each.
No, it was 3-2. 3-2. We got a last minute winner.
Craig Thompson scored 3 kicks.
Yeah. We'll not say who scored the winner.
Graham, I'll tell you a wee story about that game. I was commentating for the Hearts website. I think we played Gillingham. Was that the one we played Gillingham on the Thursday night? Aye. And then we played Millwall on the Saturday. And I can't remember who was on commentary with me. It must have been one of the players that wasn't playing in the squad. And one of the Hearts fans behind the goal, because I think I remember the Hearts fans were the top tier, keep them as far away as possible. And I remember, I can't remember how long into the game, but it was like, oh, as the action was at that end, I was like, oh, there's a Hearts flag just been unfurled in the away end with some praise for West Ham. That will not go down well. Jesus, just because they're out upstairs in the top tier, someone had a bloody West Ham Hearts or something to do with West Ham just to wind them up, and they did not like that.
Oh yeah, they're all chanting United, and I had all these 12-year-olds from the Millwall just shouting back at us, and it's like, all right.
There's some proper rascals, is there not? They'd sort of asked Hearts how many fans do you expect to go down to the game, and it was a Saturday. But Hearts said 200, so they opened up one turnstile. So about 900 Hearts fans went down, and it took about half an hour to get in. Like, I missed Egert Jonsson's penalty at the start of the game, so I spent most of the game thinking we'd drawn two each.
The joys of following Hearts, isn't it? What a rabbit hole. See, you get Mark Donaldson on, and you end up doing 400 different rabbit holes. But that started with us talking about John Souttar. It got it, Rangers. We had a lecture on the budget and how Westminster allocate the funds. We've now been partnered with Millwall. Where do we want to go now?
Joel's scared on work experience. How about that? And look where he is now.
So we might as well talk about the contract situation, because obviously the big one, the one that probably was, for me anyway, the most pressing was obviously Craig Gordon signing his contract extension, just because I love the feeling of knowing we have a goalkeeper that is a goalkeeper. It is so reassuring. But who's next? Where's the priority for you? So, Laurie, where would you say, where's your priority? If you could only give out one contract extension, who gets it?
Pescu.
Like the
Jimmy Sanders.
Why are Stephen and Kingsley not the first words out your mouth?
Yeah, I was thinking the same. Yeah.
I was going to say Kingsley. It's probably the right answer. Do
you want to know my horrible feeling? Is that John Souttar will go to Blackburn or Stoke or something like that, and Stephen Kingsley will go to Rangers.
Yep.
That's my big concern.
I'm sure. So Corbett already know, is firmly aware of this, but Ross Wilson is a massive fan of Kingsley from his time at Falkirk.
So Ross Wilson's friends with my pal's dad, and obviously my pal was telling him he was speaking to them. He was speaking to him the other week, and he was he didn't come out and say it, but he kind of alluded to that he was an admirer and would like to bring him to Rangers, and that put the fear of God. That was put the fear of God into me when I got told that, because I couldn't think anything worse.
And I'll tell you a story. Number 37 that plays for Rangers. Hearts played Celtic on Boxing Day, potentially, at Celtic Park. We went 2-0 up. I think Mark De Vries scored within about 5 minutes, but it finished 2 each, or we potentially might have even ended up getting beat. I walked into Celtic Park in the Hearts End, walked to my seat, and number 37 for Rangers was the other side of the barrier with his family watching Celtic. So they'll no be too bothered if Stephen Kingsley's a a Celtic fan or not. They've got history for signing them.
Yeah.
I don't think. Does that even really matter in the modern game now? It's like
Probably matters to the Celtic and Rangers fans. I did laugh at the rumours now. You've probably all had it in your group chats that John Souttar's mum, only his mum, not his dad or his brothers, just his mum, has a season ticket in the Broom Loan at Ibrox. Like, does the dad not get to go? Is it just Mother Souttar that goes to the games? No one else. So
she runs the Brecon Rangers Supporters Club. Brecon Loyal.
That's have to be the Brecon Loyal. So Laurie, who's your contract going to? Did we force you in to say Stephen Kingsley? Did you know what to say that?
It would be Stephen Kingsley, but I think sometimes people forget that Craig Halkett has probably been our second best player this season.
No, Kingsley's. Aside from Gordon, Kingsley's been our best player.
I think Halkett's got a decent shout.
Kingsley's got that start that you had on the podcast, Laurie.
Oh, the shots on target one.
Shots on target ratio.
Which is actually technically not entirely correct. But
wait, what? Where's
what? Are you fudging figures here?
It's fine though, because it was Ryan's question and I think he gave the wrong answer either way. But
you're on a professional podcast now.
What was that?
How angry did he get?
Oh, I know, fucking raging. He does get very angry. I was actually, for Scott, as in Amoruso lets it run, I was actually trying to find if you had it's a defeat, so it's a derby defeat, so it's not a disaster.
Oh, trust me, I'll probably still have it.
The Scottish Cup defeat after the 5-1, the 1-0 game.
The 1-0.
I wanted to find the moment where McGowan says he went rage at the end and just tried to bin Ryan McGivern in the corner. Because I was going to try and get a clip of that.
So I've got that one on file, but it's not been converted yet. But I can easily find it for you.
I don't want to see anything else. I just want to see that moment.
Nobody wants to see anything else.
Are you talking about the game at Easter Road?
Aye.
Was it not 1-1?
John set us up with like a 4-5-1.
It's 1-1 because Andrew Driver scored.
The Scottish Cup game after
5-1. Game, the 1-0 where Wotherspoon scored.
The Wotherspoon /Stark.
Is it not true that in the 3 last Scottish Cup wins, Hearts have then lost the cup effectively in their next game? So when we won it in '98, we lost it to. We actually lost it to Celtic. Oh no, Motherwell. That's right. Then Dunfermline after we beat Gretna, and then Hibs after we beat Hibs.
Yeah.
Sorry
for depressing everybody.
Sorry.
Can I take it off on a brief tangent? I don't know. I think it was Laurie mentioning Scott.
They're usually not brief guys.
They're not. Let's have a look at this one, right? There's a VHS Hearts Celtic March '66. Scotty, have you got that?
No. Oh, is it a 3-3 game?
Aye.
I do. It's on the channel.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's only about 8 or 9 minutes coverage though, so if you've got more than that, then
I'll have a look.
You got Jugz 8. You got Jugz 8 or 9 there.
I was gonna say, are we doing some sort of like illegal dealing in copyrighted footage from the BBC from 1980 on this podcast?
1966.
If so, I'm all for it.
1966. Celtic Hearts March '66 3-1. You want that?
How do you have this?
No. I've got ESPN were like, take over whatever you want when you move. So I was like, well, I'll take my Betamax DVD collection or VHS without thinking I don't have anything to play it on. So I've got all these videos. Hearts Hibs, the Wayne Foster full game. Dundee United 0, Hearts 1, March '98. I can't even remember that game.
Hamilton scored.
Oh, there you go. Scottish Cup semi when McAllister
kicked the arse. Thought he'd scored,
offside. Right, and Hearts Atletico Madrid. There you go.
Mark, I've got a suggestion. You work for ESPN. They're obviously a world-renowned media company. Can you not take all these Betamax tapes and everything that you have and say, go and digitize that for me, big man? Make that happen.
No, below deck over them or something.
No, because here you go. I need a tech expert. There's NTSC and there's PAL.
Yeah.
One VHS doesn't work in America, and the American one doesn't work in the UK. So,
well, that's rubbish, isn't it?
There's definitely some lampposts.
That's the only reason why ESPN aren't taking their time to digitize.
Because they don't have the right
Hi. Other than the fact that
the right VHS player, we would do it.
Sorry, big man, we don't have the right format. This tape is just pure pish, and nobody wants to see it.
Aye, we can get feeds from the Argentine second division and God knows what and make them into HD, but we can't do this with Hearts Celtic from 1966. I'm sorry.
Alternatively, if you've got Jugz 8 on VHS, we'll copy it straight over for you.
I'll get that on the go.
At which stage did they think they needed an 8? Were the first 7 not kind of similar? Or
well, to that point, I'm not interested in watching Jugz 8 because I haven't seen Jugz 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I need to see the whole series.
You've got to tell the story. Right, anybody else want to have a pop at? So we've said what, Kingsley. We've had a brief nomination potentially for Halkett.
Depends what angle you take on it. If you're like, if the club are serious about making money and having, sell on assets, then Cochrane on a permanent deal would be one that you'd be looking at in terms of somebody you could sell on maybe a couple of years down the line. But I mean, away from that, Kingsley and Halkett are the two obvious ones, because let's face it, we're losing Suter. We really can't afford to lose that back three.
I wouldn't want to lose Big Pedro either.
Yeah,
Big Pierre Harris.
That's a good shout. Yeah.
What about
where does he
Jamie Walker?
When Benny comes back?
Jamie Walker's out of contract to the end of the season, and he potentially linked with Bradford.
That's definitely.
I'd keep Walker.
He's a goner.
I think Walker's been hard done by, to be fair.
Yeah,
I don't mind him, but I don't think he'll ever be. I don't think he makes us. I think we could do better, which I know say. I mean, I think this season, I could understand why he'd be annoyed at Gary Mackay-Steven and Giannelli and basically anyone apart from Boyce and Barry Mackay were getting ahead of him because they weren't doing a lot. Woodburn's had flashes, but he wasn't doing a lot for a lot of the time. So I understand that.
Has Giannelli been that bad? Has Giannelli been that bad? Like, I see quite a lot on Twitter. Like, he gets pelters. Like, it seems like he can't have like a bad 10 minutes without getting pelters. Whereas, like Barry Mackay has a not so effective game. Nothing's really said. But if Giannelli says that, like, everyone's all over him.
I don't think he's been terrible, but there's been loads of games he's done not a lot and still kept getting picked.
You could argue that with pretty much any winger, to be fair. I just feel he kind of gets the most tight out of everyone.
It depends how you want to play your front three. If you want to play with two proper out-and-out wingers, then Giannelli and Mackay-Steven still have value to give to the team. But if you want, like, they've signed Atkinson, they might bring somebody in on the left as well. If you're actually going to bring in proper wide midfielders, like proper wing backs, not the guys we've had, so far this season, then you could have your two wide men playing as narrow number 10s. That's where people like Woodburn and Mackay, I think, will be more effective, getting closer to the front man. I think that's
that's what Robbie likes, I think, is almost 2 10s behind the striker rather than kind of wingers. I think that's what
Walker would have 100% been more productive than Woodburn, than Giannelli, than GMS, given the minutes on the pitch. But I still think, I think longer term, I don't think there is certainly definitely not a starting place for him.
They kind of have two different visions of where they want him to fit in, and I think Robbie trusts him as an impact guy, and to be honest, that's the value that he adds to the squad, is bringing him on. He has
done it last season.
Did it last season, did it this season, and it's something that I don't think we get from Gary Mackay-Steven or Giannelli or whatever coming on and being able to impact the game. But obviously Jamie, at the time of his career and how he is now, will feel that he wants to start, and I just don't think either of the two of them will ever meet in the middle, if you know what I mean.
You got lots of hands up, so I wasn't going to say.
I was going to say, Graham, you've had your hand up. What were you going to say there, Graham?
I was just saying, I remember, Joel, you said at the start that Nielsen's very keen to keep a hold of Suter for the rest of the season, but if we'd managed to get a decent fee, we'd obviously need to replace Suter. I'm thinking maybe using some of that money plus maybe Jamie Walker and offer that to St Johnstone for Jamie McCarr or Liam Gordon, because they're obviously...
So my initial thing is, if Suter was to leave in January, then Michael Smith centre back. I think that's his long term. I think he is going to trigger a contract extension very soon, so I think kind of longer term he's going to be one of the back three, or certainly an option there. In terms of the St Johnstone too, I think Gordon would be a good replacement if we lost Halkett, but he has to play in the middle of back three. He can't play on either side. He's just a stopper. And Jamie McCart would be a good replacement for Stephen Kingsley, but he has a very good left foot, but he has had a stinker of a season. An absolute stinker of a season. But again, I think that all St Johnstone have had a stinker of a season. I think both of them are very good players.
True. David, you've had your hand up next.
Yeah, just going back to the Suter thing, I was speaking to somebody the day that you all probably know. I won't say who it is, but regarding the initial, the talk about Rangers, is there was initial contact to his agent, but there's been nothing further since then. And Suter's preferred destination is somewhere down south. Contract-wise, I think Kingsley needs to be the first boy that we tie up. Whether we tie him up or no, these things are up in the air. Hearts can only offer so much that they can offer. We're not going to break a wage contract for anybody, but just that's just my thoughts.
And I kind of like the way we've been lucky enough to have spent some time with Joe Savage and got to speak to him, and he's been pretty clear on how he approaches these things, which is the club have a very set way of working and a structure, and it's fit in or
unlike Hibs
move on type thing. You know what I mean?
You guys heard about the Hibs money?
What Hibs money?
Silly.
The money they are throwing at players now is mental.
They are so basically Hibs are paying more than us. Aberdeen are probably still paying more than us, but Hibs, it's not quite Vladimir Romanov, Craig Gordon money, but it's very much Vladimir Romanov, Ibrahim Tal money for average players. It is
one of their new signings is on 3 times what Gordon's basic is.
Shit.
3 times.
Yeah,
like, what was it?
The Newport Miller's on $9,000 a week.
$9,000 a week, and they put Boyle to 7. Did they not? His new deal.
8.
Is it 8? And
8.
What was that? I heard. Was it Doyle, Doige, and Doig were both about 6? Their new deals.
Cryptocurrency.
Wow.
Crypto coin.
Does somebody want to get down Easter Road with some pyro? Let's get down Easter Road with pyro and a bed sheet saying TikTok.
Right, okay. See when you hear things like that, right, and given the fact that obviously Big Ron is from the States, you can't help think it's the whole Alan Stanford thing all over again. It's not going to happen. It's a house of cards. It will fall on its arse.
He doesn't even think he thinks he can make the money back.
How?
No way.
On what basis?
He must be.
The only get about 5 fans a week.
The only thing I can think of is he thinks he's investing to potentially get them into a group stage of Europe, because that's the only way they can make enough to. I think justify that.
I think he's got deep pockets, so it's like the money is there, is there for them. Just how wisely they're going about investing in it. I think they will under Gordon. I think he probably more in the summer could make some pretty ambitious moves.
How do you think Hearts fans would feel if, because we've obviously been, rightly so, we're very much on board with having a very sensible wage structure, but Hibs will, at the moment anyway, whether it lasts or not, but short term, Hibs will be able to outbid us financially on most players if we both went for the same players.
If I heard that we were signing a boy from a US international and giving him $9,000 a week, I'd be very, very excited.
I know, but that's what I mean. Do you think Hearts fans will start feeling like, actually, I know we were all on board with this, be sensible, but now Hibs are throwing money everywhere?
Everyone phoning up Stuart Wallace, like, right, let's just open the purse strings. Let's start chucking money about.
Here's one for you. This is the Hibernian FC website football staff, and I know it's pretty small or whatever, but if you go to head of recruitment, you'll find a certain Ian Gordon, who happens to be Ron Gordon's son.
And to be honest with you, I always say the same thing. You can tell that Hearts are doing shite when we start talking about Hibs. Like, that's always been my mantra. Hibs can do whatever they want off the park and offer whatever they want. If Hearts take care of business on the park, then why would we care? Do you know what I mean? If I'm being honest with you, like I get that it's it'll be annoying. It will probably, and they already have a couple of times have managed to take players away from us that were potentially coming to Hearts. But having, like I said, maybe we're blinded by faith, but having spoken to Joe Savage and seen the sort of the convictions of his signings so far, yeah, that you can't help but be positive about Hearts transfer policies now.
No, I think we'll do well. I just mean if it happened to work for Hibs.
Yeah, that's a different story.
And say we were doing well, but Hibs were doing better, and they're making bigger signings. I reckon there'll be a big chunk of Hearts fans who'd start going, actually, you know what? I preferred we were just throwing money at it and we weren't thinking about it.
You know who the first person doing that would be as well.
It'll keep us all in podcasts, boys. Everybody can start another Hearts podcast. We'll end up with 15,000 of them. Right. So, what about transfer rumours? Obviously, we've obviously brought the boy in from Australia that looks like a fairly decent acquisition. I agree with what Sked was saying there. Is I think Mikey Smith is obviously somebody that's pretty highly regarded within the team and the squad or whatever. I think his natural transition will be to go to the back three. I think that we actually I've always thought we've looked our best with Moore and Cochrane as wing back, and I think we just look more attacking. It feels more balanced when they're, because Mikey Smith's natural instinct is 9 times out of 10 to turn back towards Craig Gordon. But we had a strange actual bit again the Ross County game where it's weird that before the game everybody kicked off that Mikey Smith was in midfield. But then when I was thinking about it, Mikey Smith scored the goal that Benny and Devlin wouldn't have scored because they wouldn't have made that. They wouldn't make those runs. They don't make those runs. Do you know what I mean? So
I'm not sure on Taylor Moore at right wing back. Yeah, I think he's done all right, but I think he looked like against Rangers. I thought he looked absolutely fucking awful there.
He's a centre half playing out of position.
Yeah,
he's an athletic centre half playing out of position. His natural step is to come into the middle of the park.
And he was playing against his heroes as well, so you've got to cut him that. Cut him that slack.
I was so surprised that he pitched up at wing back, because when I watched clips of him when he was playing last couple of seasons, he was playing as a left-sided centre back, and I think he's done well overall. But the moment in the Livy game, just after half time, when he just tripped up when he was in the final third about to cross the ball, and I was just like, that was a big red flag.
When he got tripped up by the corner flag, that
had a massive smile on his face, though, didn't he?
He took it well.
He's apparently a really, really nice guy. I think he's really well liked amongst the squad.
What was the thing with him and Suter scrapping at the end of the game, or verbals? Was it not?
What game?
Ross County.
Ross County game, wasn't it?
They squared up. I missed it, but a few people were talking about it. Robbie was saying he was. What was it? What did Robbie say about it? He's totally fine with that. I can't remember what he was. I can't remember the article. I don't know. Joel, were you at that game in the press side?
The Ross County home game.
Aye.
Nah.
No.
We watched it on a very questionable stream, so I missed it at the end.
I was in Scots watching that game.
Who was the guy that played with Ross County that was pretty decent?
Charles Cook.
Charles Cook or Hungbo as well. They were both pretty good, I thought.
I thought Charles Cook was
Connor Randall.
Really.
Charles had clearance off the line.
His clearance at the end was brilliant for him.
Charles Cook was good at up in Dingwall against us as well, I thought.
He's a free agent in the summer. There you go.
I always find him
checks transfer market.
I do. That's it.
I always find him these sign players from Scotland. They just end up being a disaster.
Yeah. I know. But we used to be really good at signing players for Scotland. When you look at obviously David Weir and Cameron and McCann.
Even Webster. But then there was that transfer window when we signed John Sutton and Jamie Hamill and folk like that.
I was going to say, is that?
To be fair,
Craig Gordon signed a no-brainer because he was hitting goals everywhere. He just didn't do it for us.
There's a lot of strikers that have hit goals from everywhere, then come to us and flopped.
We seem to kill a striker, don't we?
We do.
Gavin
Which
Riley
is why
was class. I don't know what you're talking about. Gavin Riley was class.
It's Gavin Riley.
Still dumped. Did he not go to...
He went to Libby at the start of the season.
Joel, if you need to leave, then that's fine, man. Thanks for coming.
Catch you later, guys. Enjoyed that.
Cheers, Joel.
Hey, buddy. See you, Joel.
Bye.
See you later, mate.
Is Atkinson actually in the country yet, or?
No, not yet.
It's due to arrive soon, did it? And there was an article recently.
He
Stuck
just has
with
to
Djokovic.
He just has to wait for his.
It was the next few days
work
to what I
permit.
heard he was coming in.
Makes sense.
He's in. He'll
Answer to your question.
He'll be here for Tuesday when they return to training.
When's he coming on the podcast, Mark?
Yeah.
So Ryan can deal with that.
Get Ryan to get it sorted.
Any Australian, it's tied into their contract now, I think, isn't it?
Did he reach out to Ryan before signing?
Was that?
Dave McPherson has something to do with Australia. Does not mean he's not like an agent or something over there.
he was Ryan's agent for a bit, actually. Yeah.
Hi.
Did he not play over there for a while at the end of his career?
Yeah, he did. But it wasn't for a while. I think it was like 6 weeks. He went down for holiday and got a game on the beach or whatever. And an answer to the question of where is Gavin Riley, Greenock is the answer. Fucking shithole that is.
Greenock gave me one of my best moments of the season when they put that thing saying, "Does anybody want to have Dougie Emery as their wallpaper for their fucking phone screen?" I was like, "Who's
like
kicking about Greenock with that?" He looks absolute mental. It looks like a nutcase. For about a day and a half, I had him as my screensaver on my phone because it was brilliant.
He's 37. That's how old 37 looks, by the way. That is mental.
Jesus. I've had a question popped in my head, slightly more light-hearted than earlier on when you were talking about a bunch of jambo pricks being on a call here. What would the collective noun for a bunch of Hearts fans be? You know, we get...
That's a very intelligent question.
A herd of deer, a pack of wolves. What do we call it?
I'm going to go to the toilet for this question.
I'm going to say a tart of jambos.
A boo of Hearts fans.
Yeah, a tart of jambos. That'll do.
Is this question going to fall dead?
Well, I was going to say, did we not top a poll on Facebook for being the biggest wanks in Scottish football outside the Old Firm? Yeah, did we know, like, we got like quadruple the votes for everybody else? Aye, a wank of Hearts fans. That's exactly what we're calling ourselves.
Probably voted for ourselves.
A wank of Hearts fans. That's
a protest. A protest of Hearts fans.
That's your podcast, right, Ando.
So anyone else feel really
any realistic?
Like that?
Aye, 100%. I love things like that. I love hearing that people hate Hearts or they hate coming to Tynecastle or they think we're the worst fans about. Takes pride in
love
that.
It, you love it all together, Corbett, though. You like to be controversial for controversial sake. So it's like hearing that people hate you or us or any group that you're part of is just going to get you up in the morning, isn't it? And 100%. You know what?
How come 90% of this is now just Corbett's camera?
Welcome to my podcast, boys.
He gets more big time every time he does one. This is what happens.
It's in his gear contract these days. He's got to be.
I'm just going through the lobby, kicking folk out.
Mark is wearing a cap that says "caps off." Is that not like a bit ironic?
Said make American great again.
America great again. I was just ignoring it.
Get the fuck. Excuse my French.
Let's get realistic. Strikers is probably the number one place that we would like to strengthen. Is there any names? Obviously, with Sam Cosgrove was mentioned earlier. Is there anybody in the ether that you would like to see
Kevin
at Hearts potentially?
I was just putting in the group chat there. I was like 75 minutes and we've done well. Nobody's mentioned Kyle Lafferty coming back. Nobody's mentioned Jason Cummins. There's been no mention of any of these names.
Well, I think Kyle Lafferty is going. He's had 15 professional clubs so far. If he comes back to us, he's not going to progress that number any further, isn't he? Is he not one of these wanks that's trying to go and just be the guy that has been through every possible fucking club that he can do? He's not
Nicholas Anelka.
I'll put it out there. I'll take him to the end of the season. I'd take him to the end of the season.
Oh, fuck off, man. Come
Oh,
on.
would not touch him. This is why Tam gets a hard time.
Post
I'll
and
put a
kickback.
possible forward. I'll put a possible forward. Ross Stewart. So the boy that was at Ross County, he's now went to Sunderland.
Big gangly one.
The boy that's like absolutely flying for
You
Sunday.
know how much money they'd want for him?
He scored a hat trick at the weekend, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did. He's been phenomenal for them. Well, not phenomenal, but he's
always
been decent.
Always liked him as an actual forward. I thought he does well, although he may be looked upon as in a little bit more in the Nanduli sort of mould. The only difference being he actually is mobile and wants to actually play football, whereas that guy I think just wants to play basketball.
Do you know somebody out of contract, relatively well known, liked, but doing shite just now? Callum Patterson. Would you have him back?
Aye, but is he a striker? Do we know what he is yet?
We'd have to play him as a striker.
For us before.
He's also been
a right back up in that
mid,
right wing back role.
Right wing back.
I don't know about Patterson. I'd love him to come back because he's a tremendous athlete, like can get about the pitch and everything like that. But that was back in the day. I think his knee's been buckled about 2 or 3 times now, isn't it? And if you look at him when he's playing for Sheffield Wednesday, I mean, I'm over 100k. So I think he's a bit. I can point out fat people and say it because I am fat myself. So I think he's rather on the chubby side and he can't get around as much as he used to. So I don't think he'd fit into the kind of young kind of athletic aspect of what we're going for on the pitch. And going by your interviews this season with Savage and that, Savage wants young players to come in to do a job to then sell on. So I think if we're shopping in the English market, it's going to be someone kicking around the reserves that's young, wanting to make a mark on football in the Premier League.
I think as
saying
well,
I've done that chance, Grant.
I think the wages you'd have to give somebody like Callum Patterson, you would then need to validate starting them. The problem I've got with somebody like Andy Halliday, it's nothing against him personally, but for the money that he gets to be spending most of these weeks kicking his heels, it's too much money. It's too much an outlay for a club like us.
That's why podcasts fill the time.
Thinking
So
out a shoe. I
think for the money you'd need to throw at somebody like Patterson to come back up the road, it would need to be for somebody who's going to be starting most weeks and added serious value.
Callum Patterson, we can't afford him at the age he's at. So he's only 27. He's got a good few years left in him. We can't tempt him back up here for exactly to your point, Scott. The amount of money it would take to bring him here, no chance.
So it actually brings on to a good thing to talk about is that there is a couple of upcoming problems that are good problems, and for Robbie and Hearts to have is that we've just come off the back of probably Ben Woodburn's best performance in a Hearts jersey, playing through the middle. If you link back to his second best performance in a Hearts jersey, he played through the middle when Boyce didn't play. Obviously, Boyce is our talisman. He is the epitome of everything that Robbie looks for in a forward. You know, he never stops running, never stops moving, constantly shows. How do we fit the two of them into the team? Does Woodburn drop out for Boyce to come back in? Does he move back out wide where he's been less effective? What do we see happening?
I think this. Sorry, on you go, mate.
I was going to say, do you go back to that 4-2-3-1? Because they play that 10 role?
No, I think it's pretty embedded that it'll be 3-4-3. I think.
I like the 3-4-3.
I think it's
that's the only way you put them both together.
Robbie's thing, isn't it? Mark, you got any thoughts on it?
He likes narrow players behind the one striker to allow the wing backs to get forward, and then if the two wide players or the two behind the striker go wide, then he'll try and get the wing backs to come inside to confuse. Celtic have been trying to do that as well with Postecoglou. So he's looking for width, but he's also looking for players that can play narrow. So you could easily play Woodburn and Mackay behind Boyce, because I'm not convinced by Gary Mackay. Stephen yet. So, I mean, if you were to do Barry Mackay and Ben Woodburn in behind Boyce, who's missing out there that you would want in instead of those?
Yeah, it's true. Because obviously you've got, I think people hark back to, I think Sean mentioned it earlier about Josh Ginnelly as because he made such an explosive impact to his Hearts career, everybody kind of has that in their head because he's been stop-start since due to injury and trying to get back into his head. And I think people are expecting him to be that sort of powerhouse of just attacking and shooting and scoring and creating. And it's a better league. He's still trying to nurse himself back to full fitness. So, Ginnelly probably is one that would be the one that you'd say has done enough to potentially push either Woodburn or Mackay out. Gary Mackay-Steven, I agree. I just don't know what it is about Gary Mackay-Steven. Everything that before he signed for Hearts, you would have signed him in a heartbeat, we've never seen, or we don't see enough of. Like, I can't remember who said it, but I seen somebody tweet saying that, like, he's just not even fun anymore. Like, I remember watching Gary Mackay-Steven at Celtic or Dundee United or Aberdeen. He'd try something daft or do a great skill or shoot or score a great goal or something. He just doesn't seem to have any of that enthusiasm anymore.
He does have the best numbers of any of those players, though. That's the strange thing. Like, per 90 minutes. But I agree. He's definitely not the long-term answer. But
which of them are best coming off the bench? Because he wants a good 65, 70 minutes from a player and then someone to give him a good impact for 20 minutes. Which of these players would be better giving him a 20, 25-minute impact spell, and which would be better starting?
So it's Jamie Walker for impact, isn't it? Jamie Walker's your impact guy from the bench for me.
I think Gino's an impact player and all for me. Like, in terms of when you've got tired legs for the other teams, he comes on with his pace. We still to see it be effective, but he could be that player too.
Depends on whether we're winning or no. I think Dundee United was a good example of being a goal up and he could stretch them when they're chasing the game. My problem with Gino is when you're playing against a solid back four and it's 0-0 or they're even a goal up, I just don't think he gets that space at Tynecastle. And I think that's half the problem with Gino.
Agreed. Harrison, what were you going to say?
I just think about this front line with Henderson scoring. I know it's Championship, with Henderson scoring the goals he is. Do you think he gets a chance in this team the second half of the season? Do you think he goes out on loan? It's
keep him where he is. Stay where he is.
You've been drinking too much, mate.
It was a question. I didn't say I knew the answer.
I don't think Robbie will bring him back when he's doing so well in sort of establishing himself, if you know what I mean. I think he'll keep him there, let him see out the season, keep his numbers up, and then see what impact they can make in a pre-season.
He's also playing third tier as well, isn't he? So I mean,
that's true.
At the end of the season, so I think you keep him there and see what he does, and then have an incentive based or whatever. I mean, you always worry if you get rid of some players. There was a guy, who was it, Callum Morrison, that had the weird spell. Was that the MN at the end of his name or something like
Callum
Falkirk. He did all right in Falkirk. And I sometimes wonder if like a Gino or someone like that would be a really, really good championship player. But I think we're still harping back to, it's like Nondouille when he came on against Wraith. You thought, well, this boy's all right. But flash in the pan, impact player, again, I think we can do better.
I think with the players we have, there are positions where you'll need to rotate and someone will get ahead of someone else. And it was the Walker one. I think he's a bit like, do you remember Mark Andy Driver was saying he always felt he played better when he had a point to prove. So when he'd been dropped or he'd been criticised or he'd been under pressure because people didn't think he was up to scratch or the manager criticised him, he felt he would come on and had a point to prove. Whereas when he was consistently in the team and maybe doing okay, he kind of felt he got kind of complacent or even lazy and he kind of got comfortable. I feel like Walker, and that's just my feelings on it, it gets a bit like that, when Walker's been out and the fans are saying, need him back in, he needs to get a chance, and he kind of comes on and he has that point to prove. He seems to then pop up with a goal or do something great, but then when he gets back into the fold, he starts games and you're like, wait, was Walker playing today? Oh fuck! So
he had a point to prove, didn't he? Having scored against Dundee on a high, he's probably pissed off that he wasn't starting, because I thought a lot of us probably thought that he should have started. It's how you deal with that. And when he came on, I think he came on after like 55, 60 minutes. He didn't do much, did he? Was it Ross County?
Yeah,
straight after the Dundee game.
But to be fair, the Arse had completely fallen out of Hearts in that Ross County game with the injuries. And again, it goes back to what you said, Laura, about contract extension. As soon as Halkett drops out of that team, whether you rate him or not, that you can see a noticeable difference.
Yeah.
In the side when he's not there, and that's including John Souttar's own performances as well, who's I highly rate John Souttar, but even he sort of dips. David, you had your hand up there for a bit. Where you want to jump in?
What was he gone?
I think he's away.
He's in a half raging.
Is it? Never give me spotlight.
Right. So the last thing, and then we've been on, so we'll call it quits now after the next wee round of conversations. But the next sort of good problem that I see on the horizon is what we've spoke about there is the emergence or re-emergence of Peter Haring, who has been brilliant since he came back into the side. But obviously Benny and Devlin have been up there as probably one of the best success stories of the league campaign so far. Do we change shape? Do we make room for all three of them? Does Benny sit on the bench until he gets his opportunity? Who wants to have a stab first?
I think it's about options.
I'll let you go, Laurie.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think it's about options and depth. I think I like Benny and I like Devlin. And earlier in the season, I probably would have said, kind of see Haring getting back into that. But I think Benny had a spell where I thought he was well off the pace for quite a few games. And I think we kind of needed someone like Haring in there to actually get his foot on the ball, kind of be a bit more composed, and he just dictates play a little bit more than those two. I think there'll be certain games where you say, actually, we need two people who will just be buzzing everywhere, Harry and winning the ball, and maybe Haring isn't the one for this game. I think it's good to have options, and I think games like the Dundee game, I think the Ross County game, a lot of games recently, he's actually started to look back up to speed fitness-wise as well. I think I wasn't sure he'd ever get back up to speed fitness-wise. I think he's always looked kind of half yard off what he used to be, but I think he's almost back to that. So I would argue that all three are great players to have, and they're going to be, look, Benny and Devlin are going to be suspended. You're going to get suspensions.
100%.
You're going to have games where it's not suited to have both of them. You're going to have games where it's maybe not suited to have Haring. You're going to have games where it's good to have all three. So I'd like to keep them all because, it's a long season.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I was going to say there is Benny, for me, I wouldn't so much, I think he came off the boil, but what you started to see was a player that this is his first run of playing senior football. Just a little bit of lack of experience. You've seen it with him losing his man for a couple of goals, where you think a Peter Haring probably pushes him on a man, says, that's your man, I'll stay here. You started to notice that sort of inexperience between Benny and, to be fair, Devlin as well. Like, I think Devlin has got flashes in him where he maybe just doesn't understand the Scottish game, or he gets caught up in the winding everybody up and stuff. And it's good to have Peter Haring there to kind of be like, calm it down, this is what we're doing, stay a yard shorter, go 5 yards further forward than that. And I think that's where he adds the most value to the team. So it's weird that now Peter Haring is the midfielder at the three that starts every game for me. He's the first name on the team sheet, and it's the other two that have to play around him. Scott, you were going to say something there too?
I think it just depends on whether you're wanting to set the tempo or not. I think Devlin's great for those home matches, and you want to make sure that you're in the opposition's faces that first 5-10 minutes, make sure you're winning all those second balls. I think Haring definitely brings a bit more composure. So for me, it just depends on the circumstances, but that's why you've got a squad. So all three need to stay. I think Haring definitely needs to, hopefully be getting brought in for some extension talks.
I totally agree with that in the sense that, like, it depends, to your point, Scott, about who you're playing, right? So, like, not every team that you're going to play is going to be a gung-ho, let's just move everyone forward. While Peter Haring's forward passes are absolutely sublime, is one of the best in the team at it. Is like for being a little bit more defensively minded is what we're going to need in certain games. So, I absolutely need to keep him.
It's good to have options in there, isn't it? For a while, we were starved of sort of combative midfielders. It's good to have those guys in there. And again, it's a bit, maybe you unfairly treat Halkett because you forget the shit that he's had to play alongside. Now Popescu, all that type of stuff, and now he's playing alongside John Souttar. He looks much better, and it's a certain extent like that with Peter Haring as well. I think, he was injured and he lost a half yard and you were all the same. But then you do think about who he's played in the middle of the park with, and
Don't
now
you
compare
dare
it to
speak
who
ill
he's
of
there.
Glenn Whelan. Don't you dare speak. Glenn Whelan was an absolute asset for this club.
Well, one of what was some of the worst points in games or worst halves of games. I mean, Aberdeen second half, we were crying out for another player in the middle because they moved Scott Brown in there and Benny and Cammy just go overrun. First half against Livy, I think credit to Robbie Nielsen for actually, I suppose, realising it was going the same way as that, because suddenly it was like we were playing Barcelona for about 5 minutes when Livy were just absolutely peppering us, and he made a change in half an hour, put Haring on because he realised it was going the same way. We just needed another body in there. And one thing with Haring, and this is not from any insider knowledge, but he kind of gives off the impression he's been happy to be the guy that maybe sometimes he is coming on. He's not come on and kind of seemed like he's not interested or kind of shrugging the shoulders. He's actually come on, I think, and actually really influence games, which is sometimes quite difficult as a substitute, I think.
Well, we've seen the picture of him last year, how excited he was to come on. We all seen that picture. He was buzzing to come on. Right. Obviously, we've kept G's for ages, so thanks to everybody for coming. We'll end it on Gee's prediction for the season. We'll just go round the houses for anybody that wants to pipe up and tell us where you're going. So I'll just go round my screen. Brad's, what's your prediction? Where are Hearts finishing this season?
First, follow it. Nah, I'm not joking. I'm going to say third.
Third. Mark, you're next.
I'll go a step further and say we'll be in the group stage of a European competition next season.
Lovely.
Nice. Tam?
Third in a cup final. If we win it, I don't know. But
losing the cup final, is it?
We'll get to the Scottish Cup final.
Let's get past fucking Auchinleck Talbot first. Let's clear that hurdle, please. I've not got enough bed sheets left to be outside Tynecastle protesting if we lose. Laurie, you're next.
My prediction is by the end of the season, Corbett will have been on the radio calling for Robbie Nielsen's head at least once, and Hearts will still finish third.
Or James McFadden will be quoting me this time. When I go on the radio to complain about Robbie next season, James McFadden will be quoting me saying, "Aye, last season Hearts won the good enough." No, I fucking told you that. Scott, go for it.
I think definitely third spot and a trip to Hampden for Robbie Nielsen when we've encountered another 4 or 5 Glasgow blinks between now and the end of the season. So that's what I'm predicting.
Kev?
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything anybody else has said. My only thing is around about the cup final. I don't know if we'll be lucky enough to get there this season.
Fuck you, Kev. Harrison.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, like see third in that cup run. We've yet to see Nielsen really have a proper cup run. Obviously, he got to the final last season, was it now? Against Celtic with no fans, but then he was there. He came into the job at the semi-final, so I'd like to see a good cup run of sorts from Nielsen.
It's the only probably stick that you could kind of beat Robbie with as a Hearts manager, his performance in the cup. It's probably the only chink in his armour so far, because his numbers for everything else are ridiculously good for a Hearts manager. Grant, what about yourself?
I think it'll be closer than we think for third. I think we're going to have a sticky patch in the second half of the season. A few teams are going to get closer to us, but I think we will finish third. But I just want a trip to Hampden, whether it's a semi-final and a final, but trip to Hampden, get it full. Hearts fans going mental again. Be good.
Well, here's hoping. David?
Third. Trip to Hampden. Probably a semi-final. We'll get beat by one of the old firm, and there'll be another play outside.
That sounds like you've been to Hearts games before.
Oh, I've been.
Anybody else? Got any other predictions or want to jump in?
Aye, I'll take third place finish in the league. I do not want another trip to Hampden with Shanks because every time I've been there with him recently, it's been an absolute disaster. And I'll also predict that I'll be a millionaire by the end of the season for selling I Know Corbett t-shirts. So
I want royalties. Kyle, how are we doing? What's your predictions?
Second trip to Hampden and Paul Hartley will be the manager.
We've really got Kyle, or is that Shanks we here?
I was going to say long-term listener right there. That's showing his expertise.
Cool. And if anybody else wants to jump in, let's hear it just now.
Somebody be negative. I need some negativity in my life.
Grant Grant sucked the life out of us a wee bit there. He's deflated the season. He's basically.
I think we'll be third, but it'll be an awful lot closer to fourth than it is to second.
Potentially.
Yeah, good point.
I think we haven't yet got enough. Experience isn't the right word, but squad depth to last out the season and keep up pace with everybody else. You know, everybody else will have a better part of the season and catch up with us, I think.
Well, this January February period will be interesting. What is it? 7 games in 4 weeks?
5 weeks or something.
5
4
weeks.
or 5 weeks.
Well, my prediction is I actually think we've had a bit of our sticky patch, because for a while there we were on a win-lose run, and I think that probably the first 40 minutes at Livingston were probably the sort of straw that broke the camel back in terms of Robbie in away games. I think he's been a little bit less naive than he was at like Pittodrie and Motherwell, and I think you've seen that at Dundee. We approached that match rather than trying to keep the sort of way we play at home and just take it on the road type thing. I think he's sort of seen that the obvious error in that approach. I'd
be impressed if he could see what was going on in front of him at Dundee, though.
That's very true. That is very true. But anyway, I'll not keep these any longer, guys. That was class. Thanks for everybody for coming on. We'll probably stay on and talk nonsense for a wee while later. If anybody wants to hang around, you can hang around. That's totally cool. Anybody else that wants to jump, thanks for coming. Thanks for being part of it, and hope you all had a good new year.
Appreciate it, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheerio.